How can I know if I have given up all to follow Jesus? How can I know if I have given up all to follow Jesus? Because your suffering is complete unto death. The ultimate sign you have given up all to follow Jesus is death to self. And this death involves, are you ready? Suffering. Suffering. Just as Jesus suffered on the cross, suffering. If you have truly given up all to follow Jesus, you will die to self, which will involve suffering. If you say that you have given up all to follow Jesus, and yet there is no suffering in your life, then you have not given up all to follow Jesus. There will be suffering because you die to self. Death to self will hurt you. Death to self will cause you to suffer because you are denying your fleshly appetites. Because you live obediently unto God. If you say you have died to self, yet you do not suffer, you are deceived. For the road to death to self is the road of suffering. The way of Jesus unto his death on the cross was one of suffering. Therefore, your way unto death will be one of suffering also. A Christian who does not suffer is a Christian who has not died to self. A Christian who does not suffer is a Christian who has not died to self. If your life is easy and you never seem to be suffering, then accordingly, you have not died to self. You are not the true follower of Jesus. Death to self hurts. Therefore, the person without this hurt, this suffering, is not dead to self. Therefore, they are not a true Christian. Therefore, they are on their way to hell. Christianity, church, is not words. How you love Jesus, how wonderful it is to be a Christian. Christianity is action, whereby you are to take up your cross and live a life of crucifixion. The one who has given up all to follow Jesus suffers because they die to self. If you are without suffering, you are without death to self. Therefore, you are without true Christianity. So, let the cross do its perfect work in you, that it puts an end to you and the sins of you. Refuse to live for you and the sins of you. Refuse to live by the flesh and choose to live by the Spirit. So, how can I know if I have given up all to follow Jesus? You know because you have died to self, and this involves suffering. If your life is not one of death to self, which involves suffering, you are not a true Christian. You are on your way to hell. So, suffer unto death because you refuse to give into fleshly appetites, because you live according to Christ's own nature in holiness and righteousness. Then you have true Christianity. Then you will go to heaven and not to hell. Choose to suffer unto death.